So, hello everybody. Lean Leaders Live, another Meet the Speaker with Lean 42. Um, we have an upcoming conference next week, the Lean Leaders Summit. You can see the URL there. If you're not registered, there are some seats left, 10 or so, 5 or so be quick. Yeah, it's on Thursday next week, pre-evening dinner on Wednesday evening. And we have a lot of tracks, a lot of speakers. And one is with me here today, Stephanie. And yeah, glad to have me with me on the call, and let's talk a little bit about you and your talk and your professional experience. Um, just quickly about me, I'm Fabian Keinzinger, working as a enterprise architecture consultant with Lean 42 for some time now. But this is about you, Stephanie. So I'll just hand over to you.
Thanks.
Glad to have you on this call.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conference next week. I think it will be good fun. So, and lovely to meet everyone. So, yeah, a bit about me. I help organizations make sense out of knowledge management. Have done for about 25 years. I got started in that in at HP, and so we've picked technology and implemented technology to be more efficient and effective and productive, help people collaborate better, and all those kinds of good things. But lately, I've been more focused on the people side of the knowledge equation. So that's what I'm talking about next week: is how to help the humans in an AI world.
Okay. So you started your career, knowledge management and so on, and the people associated with. Was it something in your career that you started with, or how did this evolve over time?
Right. It definitely evolved over time.
Okay.
I actually have an undergraduate degree in accounting and worked in
Wow.
finance and accounting for 5.5 years. So yeah, if anybody needs any numbers crunched, I'm a little bit rusty. I could probably do that too.
Mhm.
Um, and then I have an
Cool.
MBA in IT. And worked at Hewlett Packard for almost 7 years, and
Mhm.
that's where I got started in knowledge management. Was and on the IT side of knowledge management, so helping them, the managed services business unit, implement some technology to help them, know what they know,
Mhm.
so and be able to
Right.
find it quickly and easily, and find the people when it wasn't something that we could document, and all that kind of stuff. So we, yeah, really grew the program within the managed services business unit in the 4 years that I was involved in it. So from nothing to 7,000 people.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sounds like a big endeavor you undertook back then. Yeah.
it was. So, and I've helped my clients ever since. So I've been left HP in 2003 and have been self-employed since then, helping other organizations do just that, make sense out of the chaos that is knowledge management. There's so many moving pieces. And now with AI, another piece, that people need to make sense out of, and understand what it can do and what it can't do. But most importantly, how to make sure that the people that are using the technology
Mhm.
are involved in that process, and are have the skills that they need to do what they need to do with the technology. The technology is great, but it's the people. Knowledge is people. So yeah, and we need some help. The people need some help. We're a bit stressed out these days.
Yeah, sure. So we definitely should come back to the generative AI or AI as a general as a topic, but just said yeah, chaos organizer, and this is with a knowledge management. So is this one of the main things you usually do, or what is knowledge management in general is about to organize the things?
Yeah,
Um,
well, it's to make sense out of things, I would say. So
Makes sense.
organize
Okay.
it. Certainly organize it. But there's some things that can be organized, like a library, and on a drive, on a SharePoint, or some other technology. Um,
Mhm.
but then there's also just finding people who have the knowledge, because we can't write everything down. And so it's about creating communities of practice, and giving them a place to share online, but also to
Mhm.
connect and look up and say, oh, Fabian knows about this. I'm going to call him and
Mhm.
have a talk, because you will say to someone much more than you will ever write down. So making that personal connection is important. So, and now with the speed of change, like I said, the AI stuff has come
Mm,
in, but people are overwhelmed and they're tired and they need some space for reflection. AI is a helpful tool. Um, it also brings in a lot more problems of, can I trust what it's given me? You know,
mm,
do I? And so that curiosity to go, well, that doesn't sound right to me, and that critical thinking, and the, well, okay, I'm going to take what AI has given me and do some more research, or start with that as a starting point, and go out and be curious
mm,
and reflect. And so this is a lot of the work I do is on that side of the equation of helping people be more curious and not just go, oh, AI gave me that, I'm going to believe it, and then put it in a report or something and find out later that it's wrong.
mm.
And
Yep.
like some of the lawyers have found, in their submissions to courts. So um, this is this is not a good thing to put your paperwork into the courts and find out that the cases you cite are fictitious.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, not a good thing.
I think everybody remembers that. Yeah, this was was not a good thing. Or yeah. No.
No,
So um, coming back to AI, this is a trend. Yeah, it's not only within knowledge management, but it's kind of
no.
everywhere. But if we look at knowledge management, you said, okay, it's more like a kind of a starting point to keep people curious or give them some first hints what to look at, what might be out there. So um, AI and knowledgement, is it already set how it might work together, or is it still a little bit evolving how these two disciplines might benefit from each other?
It's definitely still evolving, but I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago in
Mm,
Dublin, and we were talking about, he's partly talking about just that, and how organizations really need to have a good KM program so
mm,
that AI can do its thing,
mm,
the way, and be efficient and effective and give them good answers. Because garbage in, garbage out, right? We all
yeah,
know this. We've certainly heard
mm,
this in respect of AI, but going back, to when the 80s, this was a thing, garbage in, garbage out, and it's circled
mm,
around now again with AI. So it's important to have that good knowledge management processes and systems in place so that AI is good at what it does best, summarizing and
mm.
providing that output from.
Yeah, so what we already see with our customers, yeah, there may be two kinds of AIs and two types of application. One might be something like the general one, like Copilot or ChatGPT, which has been trained on maybe not the internet, but a subset of the internet, yeah,
Mhm.
and which can give some general answers. And as you said, they might hallucinate. Yeah, something came up with strange ideas or so, because, yeah, as far as we know, currently they're not understanding what they're doing. They're just, yeah,
No, it's predictive tech.
bringing things together. Yeah,
Yeah.
and on the other hand, the other type might be AI systems, machine learning systems trained on knowledge within a company. And I
Yes.
think this is what you're referring to,
Yes.
garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So let's have something, if you have knowledge inside your company and some structure and you train it, an eye on that, then it might be successful. Or is that something you would say? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but and this is where the knowledge life cycle stuff comes in,
Mm,
and because you will have lots of organizations that aren't so good at the deleting, removing the old stuff because
mm,
you
yeah,
know the
good
storage
point.
has been cheap, and so, well, we'll just have 100 versions of this document, and each one's a little bit different, and so you
Hmm.
want to clean that out and make sure that your process around the knowledge life cycle is well oiled and taken care of, so that,
Mm.
again, the garbage in, garbage out. So
Okay, so it's the information and the up-to-date information still needs to be there. So
yep.
AI currently won't, what you say, and also what is our experience, can't make the distinctions. Okay, this is the right information. I discard the other 21
Yeah, yeah,
versions
no,
of
it
there.
doesn't know. It's not sentient. It's
Yeah.
not just so people forget that sometimes,
Mhm.
so yeah.
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 Um, Besides AI, are there any other trends in knowledge management? You have a vast experience, 20 years or so, or is it currently it's AI and how to apply it? Are there any other? How they're
there's
implementing
the
this? Yeah.
AI side of things, and there's always been kind of two camps in knowledge management.
Hmm.
Is the technology side and the people and the process side. So on the people and the process side, there's people like me who are worried about the people and recognize that knowledge is human, and so how do we help the humans to use the technology, certainly, but to be better humans, to be creative, to be innovative, to have the conversations that they need to have with people to transfer that knowledge. How to share the stories, how to understand the narrative and make sense out of the narratives and things, the stories that we tell ourselves, and the stories around why something happened or didn't happen, best practices and that kind of thing, or good practices. So there's that more human process oriented side. So that is getting interesting too, because there's some, neuroscience is coming on, and so
Hmm.
there's some interesting things coming out of that about how the brain works and how to help ourselves be more creative and innovative and do the things that will help us make better use of this technology and these tools that we have available to us.
Hmm.
So, and that's what I'm talking about next week is some of a bit of a little tiny bit of neuroscience, because
Okay.
I'm definitely not a neuroscience person, but I do find it fascinating. But more about the results of the activities, the actions we can do to help us.
Mhm. Yeah, I just wanted to ask this side of knowledge management and this aspect. Is this something that comes in when you talk about radical knowledge management? That's the topic of your talk next
Yes,
week. Radical knowledge management. Yeah.
yes.
What does it mean? Is it what we just said, or what's the meaning?
It
Radical
is what I
management.
just have said about the
Okay.
neuroscience and the creativity and the innovation, because it's
Mm,
radical is about going back to how we learn, and if you think about how we learned as children, it was playful. We
mhm,
were doing art-based things, coloring, painting, we were playing with Legos and playing with other things. So and knowledge management, really underneath it all, if you stop and think about it for a minute, is really about learning, because we have to look things up, or we have to ask questions because we don't know it. We're not some mainframe computer. Oh,
mm,
sorry, that's old technology. I'm showing my
sure.
age, but some supercomputer, that can just spit things out. That's not how our brains work, and it's not how we work. And so, tapping into that humanity to learn is what knowledge management is ultimately about. And so,
Mm,
yeah, radical KM then is about tapping into that, going back to the roots of how we learn and being creative and being playful and being curious. And how do we tap into those skills and enrich those skills? Because a lot of that's gotten educated out of us as we've gone through the school systems and gone through university
mm,
and into our careers. It's we become very focused on, well, I have to, I think about to when I was in accounting and finance, so I have to just do this spreadsheet.
sure.
I have to just do put these transactions through. I have to do this audit. And you don't think about any of the bigger picture things. And yet the world we live in, especially at this point, demands that we look at the bigger picture. And
Mm.
so tapping into our inner artist, as I will talk about next week, helps us see the bigger picture.
You're consulting companies for a long time now. You're helping them, yeah,
Yep.
with this aspect and your approach to knowledge management. I don't know if I would be a customer and say kind of, yeah, how you learn at school and how you do things back then, how you learn to draw something and how do you developed in your childhood, and you came up with this, yeah, way of thinking, and so it sounds really interesting to me and sounds good and makes sense. Do customers accept this way, or do they just then come back to you sometimes and say, no, let's structure our SharePoint?
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Okay.
So it's not for everyone, or at
Mhm,
least everyone's not ready for it quite yet. But there are certainly are organizations that say, yes, come and help us with this, but make this part of our knowledge management strategy. Help us get on the road to being better humans and being better knowledge
mhm,
workers, better knowledge yeah, better knowledge workers. I'll say that, use that terminology.
Is there a good way to convince them? Because it really makes sense to me and it's really a good approach, I would say. Yeah. Is there a good way to convince them and say, okay, let's step a little bit back and let's have a more radical approach to knowledge management? Yeah.
So I have this case study that was done. It's about 10 or 12 years old now.
Mm,
That this two teams in this organization had struggled for 10 years to solve this problem. You know,
mm,
with the spreadsheets and the PowerPoint decks and all
yeah.
the logical
All the
analytical.
thing. Yes. Yeah.
Struggled for 10 years. Didn't solve the problem. They created a studio space with some arts-based activities in the office, and
Mm,
had a team that did some facilitation, and so brought these two teams together in the studio space with these arts-based interventions, solved the problem in a week. So I say to people, yeah, it doesn't look like a straight line because there's
mm,
this messy bit in the middle, and so, but do you want to take 10 years and not solve the problem, or do you want to be a bit uncomfortable and do some art for a week and solve the problem? Like that's the scale that we're talking about when we bring
mm,
arts-based interventions in, or arts-based experiential learning in, to our organizations. So when they hear that, it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'd rather be a bit uncomfortable for a week and
mm,
solve the
yep.
problem than take 10 years and not solve the problem. You know? So yeah, that often kind of nudges them to, well, let's give this a try.
It sounds good. Sounds like a good case study, good use case. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we look at the time, yeah, I think we're coming to an end now. Stephanie, it was a pleasure to have you with me here on this quick call, on this Meet the Speaker. And
Thank you.
I think we're all really looking forward to your talk next week
Yeah,
on
I am
Thursday at the
too.
Lean Leader Summit. Yeah, get to know more details, more about
Yes.
the knowledge management and your other ideas. So thanks for everybody for joining today. And then, Stephanie, see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye bye.